Everyone, it's Gerald here. In this video, we're going to go over Nike stock. Nike stock is down nearly 20% year to date with earnings coming up in about 1 week. Do I think the stock is a buy prior to the earnings? In this video, I'm going to go exactly that and whether I rate the stock as a buy, a hold, or a sell here. So Nike stock, like I said, is down 20% year to date. This is a stock that's trading roughly around a 20 PE with a solid debt to equity ratio of 0.85. Right. So with this company, what's been going on with that's caused a lot of the drastic downfall in this company? Well, revenue is declining, and a lot of it is being hit through trade tariffs, a lot of the geopolitical tension that's going on between the United States and Asia, and so forth, right? But let's actually go through some of the points. In terms of the revenue decline, Nike reported a 9% year-over-year revenue drop in Q3 2025, right? This is driven by a strategic pivot to newer products and reduced reliance on established lines like Air Force and Jordan. There's also inventory management challenges. Aggressive inventory reductions for legacy products have constrained sales in the key categories, particularly in Greater China and the online channels, right? And of course, there is just intensifying, ever-growing competition. There's rivals of Hoka and On that were able to capture that market share due to Nike's prior management veering away from the whole retail partnership. This has all led to where we are at today with the new management coming in, or prior executive coming in with Elliott Hill, re-engaging a lot with the wholesale partners to expand that distribution channel and reduce that reliance on the direct-to-consumer sales here. So overall, many different things, many of which were through the tariffs. The stock took a major hit after the tariffs. There's the decreasing in revenue just due to geopolitical tensions, as well as the poor macroeconomic conditions that the United States is in. A lot of uncertainty in that aspect of as well. But we'll talk over the good things about this company. This company is with new strategic product innovations, right? Nike's Win Now strategy emphasizes a performance-driven products and athlete storytelling, right? So they're going more leaning into their core, what makes Nike Nike essentially, right? So basically going back into the athletes, right? Going back into sport. This company is also extremely financially resilient, has a strong liquidity with a quick ratio of 1.33 and a consistent dividend growth. This is a company that has a dividend for the past 23 consecutive years, right? Throughout all the challenges that the company is going through, right? They're also instituting a major buyback, and they've essentially bought 1.1 billion to shareholders in Q3 2025. And of course, it's Nike, right? Everybody in the whole world knows what Nike is. This is what causes a lot of the pricing power that the company is able to have. And with a newly renewed management, with new CEO Elliott Hill, a lot of the initiatives that he's doing, going back into investing into the athletes, going back into the wholesale partners, it's very likely the stock is going to have a turnaround play. And on the technicals, it looks like we are actually having that. On the intrinsic value basis, this company should be worth roughly around 78.7, current price sitting roughly around $60 here. So the stock is roughly around 30% away from the current intrinsic value. So this is a good margin of safety that I like to look at when I invest into any sort of company. In terms of institutional sentiment, Q1 2025, 55% were bullish, 45% were bearish, 9% open, 36.5% increased their position, and 9.3% held, right? Versus 35.7% decrease and 9.4% closed, right? Overall, I'm seeing institutional bullish sentiment among a lot of these institutions, right? I like to follow the big money, and essentially big money is buying this company, right? One of which is Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman was noted for liquidating his entire stock or equity stake into Nike stock, but ultimately he doubled down and got into options contracts with Nike. So that's a vote of confidence. Bill Ackman's actually one of my personal favorites to sort of follow due to the fact that he follows a very similar mindset that I do. He does very thorough fundamental analysis, and he invests into very small companies or in very few companies. He has a very concentrated portfolio. I think he has roughly around 7 stocks in his entire portfolio, and Nike being a major part of it as well. Being able to buy under Bill Ackman's average price, or pretty much essentially where he bought at, is essentially a plus. right? If you thought it was a good buy at say 80, $90, chances are it's a good buy here, sitting roughly around $60 here. Apart from others, popular investors, we have Harry Segalis has reduced his position by about 12.1, so minor sort of reduced allocation here. He's has an average buy price around 70.16. He's down about 14.5%, and he has nearly 50 million allocated into Nike stock here, with 4% of his portfolio there. Terry Smith of Fundsmith held his position. He holds nearly 389.5 million, about 1.77% of his portfolio here. You can see George Soros increased his position significantly by about 40%. He's down about 36%. His average buy price is roughly around $93. And he's in for about 14.4 million, right? So I'm seeing a lot of major investors invest into the likes of a company like Nike, right? The company's sitting at extremely low valuations. It's very likely you're going to be making money as a long-term investor here. In terms of Wall Street analysts, there's a 1 buy, 2 hold, 0 sell rating here. Average price target for Nike stock is sitting roughly around $77, with a 28% upside from that average price target, as well as the lowest price target sitting roughly around $70. So still upside by nearly or over 15% here. In terms of the revenue in the prior quarter, year over year, it looks like the company did have a poor performance, have decreased revenue of about 9.33%. Of course, we discussed this earlier. A lot of it has to do with clearing of their inventory, with the new change of management, the whole macroeconomic conditions, tariffs, so forth and so forth, pricing in a lot of that revenue decline here. This is a company that is free cash flow positive, right? Consistently free cash flow positive. It yielded 5.31 billion with a 5.8% yield here. This is a company, like I said, that has a dividend, right? I think it has roughly around a 2 to 3% dividend yield. So just owning the stock, you make about 2 to 3%, as well as instituting major buyback program, right? What do you think this company is going to be doing when its company is sitting at these low valuations? They are going to be cannibalizing the stock. They're going to be eating up a lot of that share. And when they do that, as an investor, my share of the pot is going to be a lot higher, and that's exactly what I want as a longer-term investment here. Profitability metrics are excellent. Return on assets around 11.88%, return on equity of 31.96%, return on capital employed at about 18.9%, right? So excellent things to see here. When I'm looking at the assets to liabilities, it exceeds the liabilities, 37.79 billion in assets with 23.79 billion in liabilities. The balance sheet is not a huge concern for me as an investor for Nike stock, just due to the fact that it's Nike, right? This is a company that will withstand a lot of the turmoil in the stock market. It was able to survive through any sort of market sort of crash or slowdowns in the economic cycle here. Like I said, with the buyback program, this company is buying back their shares aggressively, right? So this is a company that once had about 1.58 billion in shares, now sitting around 1.48 billion, right? So this is the general direction. I love seeing the shares outstanding. This company is buying back its shares, and it's very likely that they're going to be continue doing so during these low valuations, right? So looking at the company's valuation multiples, the company is sitting at a P/E ratio of 20.31 when it normally trades around 32.35, right? So excellent in terms of where the stock is trading relative to its values in relation to their earnings here. On the technical chart, I'm going to pull up Nike stock on the daily time frame. It looks like the stock right now is sitting essentially above the 50 moving average. We're getting a hold above this area. If we get a hold above this area, this will likely be a move towards essentially a third wave here. We're essentially able to get a bottoming formation right here. We're getting an impulse move up. So let me create a trend-based Fibonacci extension for you guys right here. We get a 1 right here, 2, and a 3, right? The 1.618 extension for a longer term price target, more so sometime by the end of this year. So I can expect the stock to get towards the $80 price level. Sort of coincides with the intrinsic value of sitting around 78.7, right? So this 1.618 extension, it's very likely that we're going to get that for our third wave here, right? 1, 2, 3, third wave usually being the highest. An extension to the 1.618 is not out of the reach. And yeah, if we get a stabilization around this 50 simple moving average, this is a stock that's likely going to make higher highs and higher lows here. If you guys are interested in more of these videos, go ahead and leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what stocks you guys are interested in, and I'll be able to deep dive it in for you guys, okay?